Can you hear us? Wonderful. So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our panel today. My name's John Watts. I'm one of the executive directors of the Project X initiative. We're a strategic advisory collective and have been spending a lot of time over the course of the last 3 months putting together the European Programmatic TV initiative. We're delighted to have some of the members of that initiative here with us today. The goal of the initiative is very straightforward. We want to explore the prospects for a transition to a fully programmatic European TV market. In other geographies, we're seeing tremendously exciting developments with big commercial broadcasters really leaning in to the programmatic ecosystem across all of their different pools of inventory. In Europe, there are still barriers and opportunities to be realized. The goal of the initiative is straightforward. We want to unpack those opportunities, identify the barriers, figure out how to deal with them, and then create a roadmap for Europe's TV marketplace. So to discuss that topic today, I'm super delighted to have 4 amazing executives who've been involved in the initiative in various different guises. We're going to start off with everyone's favorite question. What the hell is programmatic TV? And why are we still trying to define it? Ty, why don't you kick us off? Tell us about your role, first of all. What do you look after?
So thank you, John. So welcome, everybody. I'm Ty. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at Equativ. I look after many things, M&A, which has been a busy week for us this week, as some of you may have heard.
Congratulations.
But also, within my group, we basically incubate all our major areas of innovation, one of which includes our advanced TV and CTV function. So that's what I look after at Equativ. So what is programmatic TV for me? We're an SSP, so fundamentally, for my mind, programmatic TV is quite simply, it's automation on the buy side and the sell side, importantly between both the buyer and the seller's needs, which makes a real-time decision about how to effectively trade and execute on an impression level opportunity to automate TV.
And why do you think there has been so much confusion? I mean, one of the first questions that we asked agencies and broadcasters when preparing this initiative is, what is programmatic TV? And there's some alignment, but also everyone says automation, everyone says data, but then pretty quickly you get into disagreements and misalignment. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, because I think fundamentally how you take that definition varies greatly by broadcaster, by market. The definition I gave is not data-driven TV, but from my perspective, it's a related topic. It needs to be discussed in the same agenda. But there has been a lot of, I think, traditional focus on how we move what was the heartland of TV, so linear, into a more data-driven, smart approach to buying. And I think that has naturally led to some confusion where linear has increasingly become somewhat more addressable. But from my perspective, I wouldn't call it programmatic today. That's where we need to get to.
I'm sure we're going to spend more time on that topic. Stephen, welcome. Tell us a bit about your role at RTL Ad Connect, first of all.
Thank you. So I'm Stephen Byrne. I'm the VP of Partnership Development at RTL Ad Alliance. John?
My apologies.
It's okay. We rebranded only last year, so still need to work on the comms, obviously. But no, so I represent... So RTL Ad Alliance is the international sales house of the RTL Group. And we represent broadcasters and media owners all across Europe from a European sales house perspective. But also, I guess today I'm wearing 2 hats, 2 Equativ hats, also representing kind of the views of the broadcaster on this panel. And that's where we've been playing a role in the supply side initiative with the PXI.
So give us a sense of why there is confusion in the industry about what we really mean by programmatic. What's your take?
I think it's because obviously, if we look across the landscape of Europe, every single market is so very different. And if you take the French market, which is massively driven by the pay TV ecosystem and the data opportunities that exist there, it's completely different to the German market, which is a free TV market. Pay TV is not as strong. HBB TV is a standard that exists and has allowed addressable TV to grow and flourish without it being controlled by any data gatekeeper. So I think we're all coming from a different starting point, and it makes it very difficult to then unite around one nice, easy tagline around what programmatic TV is. So where I would slightly push back on Ty's definition is that I think if we make it in programmatic TV just about automation and into TV content, we cracked that 10 years ago. SSPs and DSPs have been transacting on broadcaster inventory on small screens for 10 years. So that for me is not the spirit of this initiative, which is really how can we take that to the big screen to to not a unicast delivery but to multicast delivery, the true replacement of linear TV.
Awesome, thank you, Stephen. Moving swiftly on, Nicole.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Nicole Scaglione. I am the VP of CTV, OTT, and online video for PubMatic. And I would say I'd push back a little on what you were saying in that while there has been automation and programmatic capabilities on broadcasters for years and years and years, we have not seen kind of the blossoming of that at scale in most of the market. I would say Germany is probably a unique situation, but whereas it has existed for a long time, it certainly has not met the level of true opportunity that I think it can get to based on what we've seen in other markets. So the US and Australia are prolific buyers of CTV streaming through automated channels and have been. In Europe, because the markets are so different and so fragmented, everybody has different standards and different integration types, HBBTV and IPTV, et cetera, and demand has not necessarily shown a major interest in pushing the market to adapt. I think programmatic TV has been around for 10 years, but it certainly has not, been this. It has not achieved the scale that I think it can, and it will. Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say I share your ambition and I share where we want to be and I share that that's the agenda that we're all here to push. But if you look at where CTV is today, the reality is still a relatively small part of broadcasters' revenue streams. And I think that's what we really need to change.
Yeah, and I would say that it has sort of the broadcasters will change when the buyers say you have to change, and I am not going to buy you unless you change the way that I can access your inventory. And the buyers, from what I've seen so far, really like a lot of the ideas of it, but have not seen the value of putting that pressure on the broadcast. And the broadcasters have to also see the value of doing it proactively before a buyer says, I'm not going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars with you.
I mean, yes to everything you say there. I think that lack of consensus about the roadmap and the right way forwards is one of the main drivers of this initiative, I think. Sven, welcome.
Yes, hi, welcome.
Tell us a bit about what you do, first of all.
So, I'm Sven Hagemeier from the trade desks, and I get to oversee our entire supply partnerships across EMEA, so with publishers and SSPs.
So you're obviously not concerned about the definitions of programmatic, but in the TV industry, there's still a lot of debate. I'm sure you see it every day when you talk to broadcasters. Why is there this confusion still? What's your take?
My main take is it's because of marketing. Ultimately,
always
programmatic.
Marketing's fault.
Yeah, it's good marketing as well. It's like, but I do think the definition of programmatic was always kind of the same. It's actually when you use data to inform your buying decisions in real time. And when you use a DSP to basically do that via an SSP, etc. So this is programmatic buying always been. When we just talk about automation, for example, and why I don't think automation is just programmatic, because you said it, we've been there 10 years ago, we might even been there already 15 years ago or even longer, because there were always API integrations between an agency TV system and a broadcaster TV system to just book your linear TV commercial in there. Or you could even go so far, what's automation? You could just have a Google Forms that sends out an email. That's not programmatic in my sense. So it's like, that's why we need to go to programmatic. We're not in every case are at programmatic, and not every channel can get fully programmatic, but I do think TV can to 90% or so.
And that seems to be part of the confusion, that when we talk about automation, data, addressability, many major commercial broadcasters across Europe are rolling out self-service buying platforms which have all of those capabilities. So they ask, what does programmatic add on to that? I'm already doing all of this. Stephen, is that a discussion you're familiar with?
Yeah, very much. I think the challenge that we have is, and I think it's reflected here in Cannes this week, right? There is no unified voice for European media owners. So everybody, in fact, European media owners are not very well represented in Cannes this year, I would argue. It's really your global ad tech companies and your global vendors and advertisers and network agency groups that really dominate the conversation here. And it's a shame because I think
tread carefully, Stephen. These are your fellow panelists.
No, and of course it's I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but I just think we need to have it's the fact that there is that lack of unification and one common voice, I think, is permeating this whole debate, to be honest, because you can't really pin down the broadcasters because they are not all the same, and I think we as a broadcasting community need to do a better job actually and speak with one voice and create these standards. And that's why I think this initiative is really interesting, because it forces us to get together and actually confront, okay, how do we define this? How do we work together? And I think we're seeing now that the old rivalries between the commercial broadcasters that existed 5 years ago are starting to abate. People are starting to see that there are other enemies in the room, and they're coming together and they're starting to collaborate. So we announced earlier this year that ProSieben and RTL will join up their ad technology stacks to launch an initiative which combines programmatic TV in all of its forms into linear TV, addressable TV, CTV, all platforms. But that's going to take four ad technology companies to come together to unify their tech offering. But they have at least shown a willingness to do that in the German market. But that's only one market.
I think in every market across Europe, we're starting to see those signs of a greater willingness to collaborate. Yeah. Can I just ask a macro question first of all? Is this inevitable? Is this like Thanos and his clique, that 10 years from now we'll be looking back at this panel and going, look, it's completely inevitable that TV is going to transition to a programmatic future. Yes. You can argue about the speed. You can argue about how long it takes in different geographies, but one way or the other, it's going to be fully programmatic. Are you all on the same page, or?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Ty.
No, so I think yes, it is. You said the key word though, speed. Like how long is it going to be? We've talked about the CTV industry being around for 5 to 10 years, and we're really not particularly far along. I'd say for many of the broadcasters, maybe you can shed some more light on this. It's probably 10% of their revenue, maybe 15% of their revenue. And that's a long way not to come a huge way, if you follow me. So we will get there, and we will get there because fundamentally, consumers have changed. The way that consumers engage with television has fundamentally shifted, and it means that the needs of the market dictates a programmatic ecosystem. I want to sort of refer back to the question you sort of said earlier on, though. A lot of broadcasters are already offering systems in market. I think that the issue is, though, a lot of those systems look like walled gardens, and buyers don't really want to buy from one broadcaster. And there hasn't been the success in creating open standards, open ecosystems that all of the broadcasters embrace. So until we move a little bit further along those lines, until we make more progress in not having walled gardens, I think the speed is going to be slower than the industry needs it to be.
And that's one of the big questions, isn't it? It's about the willingness of different types of media to embrace that ecosystem of DSPs and SSPs, which is how many buyers want to transact. But that's where some of the anxiety seems to lie. Sven, you want to come in, and then Nicole?
Nicole wanted to go first, so I think.
Nicole, please.
Well, I was actually going to build on something you said earlier, and kind of a joke that it's like a marketing thing. What we have seen in some of like the tipping point that has occurred with some American publishers, and in Australia they have known this for a long time, that this model and perception of programmatic being the least expensive option is flawed, especially in CTV where the inventory is scarce and it's in high demand. And by the way, if you're a publisher, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want with it. You don't have to price it lower than your upfront negotiated pricing. You don't have to do that. And when you flip it on its head, there may be that moment of like, programmatic is now the most expensive inventory, but then give it a couple seconds and you'll start to see people buying it because that's how they want to buy it, irrespective of the medium, TV, whatever, radio, I don't care, like any medium. It's the process that is easier, more efficient, more effective, and that everybody is becoming a lot more proficient on. So if you tell a consumer, like, I cannot take a credit card, I prefer cash because that means I have money right now, and the consumer's like, but if you take a credit card, I will buy from you, and I'll buy from you more, and maybe I'll buy more than I plan to because I can do whatever I want with my credit card. It's just a method of a way people buy. So I think that two things have to happen. Number one, the education to the publishers that you're in control of how programmatic fits in your plan. If the pricing doesn't make sense, you don't want it to be the bottom of the waterfall, don't do it that way. And furthermore, you're going to start to lose opportunities with buyers if you don't allow that. You can't be a cash-only store anymore. You have to take the cards.
But I think broadcasters do understand that. I think most of the European broadcasters I speak to, except the public service ones that simply cannot, for legislation reasons, have programmatic transactions. I think they've all embraced programmatic advertising to a greater or lesser extent. I think they're all moving towards holistic ad tech platforms that compete programmatic and direct demand on a price priority basis, and typically will see higher CPMs in programmatic because it's data enriched and it comes with all the additional targeting opportunities. So I think that is understood. I think the challenge is what you were touching on earlier, which is the sales sovereignty and who creates the club that brings all of the broadcast inventory together to be bought and transacted. Is it a vendor? Is it a buy-side provider? Or is it a collaboration on the supply side? And I think those are three very different outcomes.
And I have to say, I'm going to Sven in a second, but I just want to say, I think I completely agree with you. I think that's the point of maximum disagreement, where we hope to build bridges and try and find a common path forwards. Sorry, Sven.
Yeah, no, just I wanted to build on a couple of things. So first of all, I would like to tell that credit card story to many shops in Germany still. That it's actually beneficial to accept credit cards and not just take cash.
Deutschmark as well.
Daily pain, yeah. And the other thing is like, in terms of the self-service platforms and programmatic, where I'm kind of with Steven. So I do think like in most markets in Europe, broadcasters have already opened up to the open DSP and SSP ecosystem. So for example, in Germany, it's 100% open, all biddable, except for addressable TV maybe. Spain, France, even Italy has now just repartnered with Mediaset and Rai, so it's like open up. UK, maybe a little bit of an exception there. It's a little bit behind, but slowly starting to keep up with Channel 4 and Sky adopting.
And do you feel where it's opened up, it's at the same level, parity, with the same signals?
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Right.
I mean, it's like when you open up to DSP, most of the broadcasts basically just start on with like tiptoeing into it, like programmatic guaranteed, not sharing lots of signal, and then just like they understand more and more the benefits of opening up more to biddable, sending more signal, because once they understand that it's actually no risk of doing that and what DSPs actually do, as long as they don't compete with their core business, they actually see that they have this control. And I love what you said as well, like they are still full in control of that. They are in control of what they're sending. They can talk to DSPs to say, this is what you're allowed to do with my data, this is what you're not allowed to do with my data. And ultimately, programmatic, and everyone is so afraid of that, is we just give bids. Like you just get a view into the opportunity that you might have. It's still in the publisher's control to say yes or no to that bid.
Can we talk then about the single biggest barrier that many of the broadcasters have spoken about, which is this anxiety about being placed on the shelves in a programmatic supermarket next to lots of other goods when you feel your inventory is somehow different. So during the course of the kind of setup of this initiative, we've spoken to 25 different broadcasters, streaming businesses, digitally native video companies, and there's a very different perspective. If you're a Rakuten and you're wide but not deep, you've done an amazing job at rolling out a streaming service across smart TVs across Europe. Programmatic is brilliant. It's an incredibly efficient channel, and they're very happy to be able to scale up across all these different geographies. If you're a big incumbent national broadcaster, you've got a sales team, you've got agency relationships, you've got systems, you've got legacy, but most of all, you feel your inventory is premium. You think it has a certain special, unique quality, and being ranked in a kind of programmatic supermarket where you feel you're against lots of goods and services which aren't as premium as yours creates certain anxieties.
I think you're ranked anyhow. Like, if you go into programmatic or not, every agency and advertiser is ranking your inventory against all of those anyhow. Programmatic just makes it a little bit easier and more transparent. And even though, and then you just need to sort out, okay, premium or not premium, and advertisers are doing it anyhow, so they do it in programmatic too. So the value of an ad impression is usually the mix of the value of the audience and the value of the environment. And I do think programmatic has done a bad job, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, in valuing that environment or valuing the attention of a certain thing. But this is where programmatic has gone so much better, and all the ad tech companies are investing into new KPIs that value the environment as well and value premium. For example, we have just introduced a KPI, the TV Quality Index. And as soon as you basically score that, with tons of variables, and advertisers can use it and know how it's working, and you actually see an increase in the conversion rate the higher your TV quality index goes. And that's you need the full mix. You need the full mix. It doesn't mean that you only buy the top premium content, because then you're not going to have the ultimate scale, but you need to put it into a full mix.
And I think that's where we are seeing enormous progress at the moment, is in the quality of the data and the metadata associated with inventory that's in the bid stream that gives you much greater transparency about what you're actually transacting against.
It's improving. It's improving.
It's
not.
there.
It's by no means there.
And I think what you were describing, the programmatic market, is, and publishers having this anxiety of maybe being lumped in with suppliers that maybe they don't consider their peers, right? I think that's this paradigm we have to just destroy, because programmatic isn't a medium, right? It's a way to buy stuff, right? And really what the broadcasters are doing are just evolving their technology capabilities to allow for more buyers. And I think it actually would be in the best interest of the broadcasters to allow more programmatic buying, because it opens up diversity of buyers, that gives them money they weren't seeing before, and it drives competition. So you being a part of a cohort that allows programmatic buying doesn't necessarily mean all of a sudden you're in the on the sale rack of at the store. It really doesn't. It doesn't really mean anything other than I've added superior technology. Instead of the stairs, I have an elevator, right? And more people prefer that, or something like that. So I think that it goes back to the education piece, and then looking at other parts of the world. And I would say Germany is very far ahead here. Parts of Europe are. I think the UK broadcasters are dipping their toe into it. They're very much, they're going slow, and I think that's smart. Understand what works for your business. Don't just jump into it because it's buzzy and you feel like you have to. The best way to do programmatic is to do it in a way that works for your business. So start slow. They're doing a lot of PG, which is great, but there's certainly so much more for them. So many more different buyers, even within the current landscape of the holdcos, right? They're probably getting a lot of AV buyers. They could be getting some of that budget from programmatic buyers that they just may not have a relationship with at all.
But I think if the broadcasters are, in using the supermarket analogy that you gave, broadcasters don't just want to have their inventory placed on the shelves for them. they want to be the ones who are actually designing the layout of the store. They're the ones who want to be deciding, okay, I'm going to put this inventory front and center when the people walk through the door, because I know that this is going to be much more valuable because it's seasonal or it's relevant for that audience. And I think it's the curation and the product building and the sales sovereignty that's the question here, not the methodology or the mechanism. So, and I think that's really, again, what we keep touching upon, because I think that's where broadcasters feel the tension. If a network agency's buy-side marketplace vehicle is creating the product, I'm not comfortable with that. But if it's a broadcaster collaborated initiative, then it's a different story. Then our interests are aligned because we are on the sell side. Let's be honest, there is a tension between the supply side and the demand side here, and we have to acknowledge it.
But that's an important tension, by the way. That's because if you don't have that tension, if you don't have independent buy side and independent sell side, it all goes down like we see in the courts right now in the US and across the globe with a certain big company that's not present here today. So you don't want to have that. And this is like, to compete as a TV ecosystem, we need to have something superior, like a competitive ecosystem. And I do think it's important to differentiate that, like programmatic buying enabled certain business models that you right now criticized, like where agencies might package it and put a margin on it. It might also enable business models for resellers or ad networks to then package all the TV content, and might also do stuff with it that no one wants. So ideally, it's like really we have an ecosystem that's competitive, so where advertisers can use the buy-side platform of their choice, broadcasters can use the sell-side platform of their choice. It's all interconnected. We work on standards, like on standards of identity of how things work to really buy efficiently at scale. And then it's still on the publisher side, the task to sell to the agencies, to the advertisers, and the advertisers' task to buy from the publishers. It just needs to happen in this like very interconnected ecosystem that works predominantly independent from each other, but together on standards.
I couldn't agree more. So from my perspective, you touched on curation, but giving the broadcasters the ability to best represent their data in a means that doesn't create yet another silo is where we have to get to.
Yeah, totally. So there needs to be a harmonization of the first-party data of broadcaster A and broadcaster B and broadcaster C into some kind of...
At least principles to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be... We're not talking about necessarily sharing data, but there should be some kind of common denominator there that can be said, this is broadcaster inventory that can be bought, and you can buy an all-male audience. At this age and gender would be a great step forward.
Good start.
Yeah. And then would allow us to be able to say, yeah, we have incremental reach in this age group with this affinity level across the 3 broadcasters in a market. The challenge is the EU regulators will not always allow that, right? So there's been plenty of examples over the past 3 or 4 years of broadcasters trying to come together through mergers, which have been blocked by the various regulators. Yet there is still a opportunity to aggregate that at a glal level with certain ad tech companies.
Why does it need to be mergers? Like I don't really understand that.
It's like, no, but it's one example of where it comes together. I mean, I think that's why with RTL Ad Alliance's approach is more on the sales house level. We feel that that's a safe regulatory space to operate in, and it's a European-wide perspective, which is international selling, not in a given market.
And we should all remember that Europe's broadcasters have predominantly traded their inventory using a single currency in each geography, an agreed standard via a JIC.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder if that's one of the barriers to change that we are going to have to talk about when you talk about measurement and audiences, that we have an existing set of trading mechanisms that many would argue have worked very well.
Yeah.
And there's a question about what replaces those. Are we evolving them to encompass the programmatic ecosystem? Will we be transacting against Barb? Or will we, as some other video businesses say, be moving away from that towards an ecosystem driven by advanced audiences, identity data, impressions, but a very different way of buying television? And that, I think, is a really interesting question to start to explore.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think we have to accept that they're going to run in parallel for a period of time, and probably an extended period of time. Ultimately, I think the industry has to move away from national-based panel surveys. It's just not going to scale. We know that. And I think we have to move much more to metrics that enable bespoke audiences to be created and customized for the various different needs of the advertiser. And to my mind, that is going to be the paradigm that wins out ultimately. But in that bridging period, which could be 5-10 years, we're going to have to make programmatic advertising look a little bit like traditional measurement. It's just an inevitable evil of making progress.
Nicole?
Yeah, and by the way, like progress, I mean, two things. First, if we wait around for all the countries in Europe to come together, or everywhere, right, and all the broadcasters to create a body where we all agree on standards, then we've, what are we doing? We've missed it, right? Because that is hard to do. We've seen that in other markets. I hate to be the and in other markets lady, but we have seen and made some progress of people deciding they will work together to think about a problem and chat about it. And yet we're still in this world of, for example, measurement, just totally fragmented. I mean, Nielsen lost their accreditation.
That word.
I think that's the word. A couple of years ago, and there still hasn't been a consensus of what do we do now, right? And on the one hand, I don't think that's a bad thing because different currencies, different measurement types serve different needs for different buyers and publishers, and we're kind of acknowledging that maybe one standard isn't the right way, but to kind of wait for it and feel like we'll get there one day, it's almost like why are we even wasting our time on that?
It's going to take more than a kumbaya moment.
Exactly, and that kumbaya moment is going to take a while.
Coherent action.
Exactly.
I know, talking to big media owners, many of whom now have a kind of semi-alarming diversity of different pools of inventory. They've got traditional linear, they've got impressions, they've got addressable, they're using clean rooms to onboard first-party data from marketeers. They've got a whole plethora of options, and trying to find the kind of programmatic spine that can run through all of that is surely going to deliver efficiency and a more joined-up market, but it does create some technical and operational issues that they're going to have to move and work through. But I think we'll get there.
And by the way, that's how they're going to compete with all the social, Google, Meta, TikTok. That's how they are going to be able to survive and continue to take, more buyer dollars, is bringing together their full stack of content. It's all just content delivered in different ways, right? If you can standardize that in a way that buyers want to buy, programmatic, linear, who cares? Or CTV, whatever, it doesn't matter. To a consumer's not thinking right now I'm watching linear, later little OTT. No one ever thinks that. And but in order to have that scale and competitiveness against these social platforms, social video that are becoming much more attractive to buyers, they have to figure out a way to integrate it and distribute it and sell it to buyers in the way buyers want to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to say, we're always waiting for company like all of those bodies to create a new currency or to agree on a currency. I don't even think we should do that, because in the programmatic ecosystem, it's about totally different things. It's about measuring the reach of your campaign by impression. You want to know also how many households you have reached, and everyone is kind of calculating that themselves, and I think it's even fine. And on the measurement piece, what's success is different in programmatic than it has been maybe in linear TV for so long. It's not just reach in a certain age group or target group. You can actually follow the household across the full customer journey, and that actually also makes, because why I think it's good that TV is moving into the programmatic ecosystem, because if TV is part of an omni-channel campaign and of a full customer journey, it makes the TV impression more valuable. So it's not decreasing it to a value of maybe a banner, but it's actually increasing the value of TV because you can actually see it. And then it goes down up to retail data right now, a huge big topic that was never a case before, where you can actually measure sales against all of the impressions you had in the customer journey and the impact that TV had. And I think that's even better than what we had before.
I think it does unlock a lot of opportunity for those kinds of integrations. So we're running short of time. I think all of us are going to perspire, possibly expire, unless we get some shade. So, final question to each of you. What's the one big issue you're really looking forward to getting to grips with during the course of the next 3 to 4 months? So the plan for the initiative, as you know, is to do a significant piece of research and consultation. We're going to be speaking to a lot of partners. We're going to be, without wanting to fall victim to the other markets problem, we're going to look at other markets and just understand what can be learnt. And the goal is to try and address some of these big issues and set out some sort of roadmap in the fall. Between now and then, what's the one big issue you would personally like to spend some time unpacking in this space? Do you want to kick us off time or just work our way along?
I think from my perspective, the sort of lowest hanging fruit that I think can have some meaningful difference is to create a playbook and a set of principles around how we effectively share content metadata. For me, it amazes me that it's still a problem. It seems something that we really should have fixed a long time ago. And everywhere at the moment, there are localized approaches. There is an insane amount of manual processing that takes place at agencies, within tech companies, we're on the broadcaster side, and we have to be able to bring some degree of automation and improvement to this area, and I think it will immediately bring some of the value that we've identified today, that broadcasters will actually start to realise that by providing that information and providing it in a manner that is compatible with other broadcasters, the value of their inventory will be realised quicker.
I think it's a great point. And it's interesting, I hear an echo of the debate about attention metrics. So I think for a long time, sellers were quite anxious about attention metrics. But now that the data's in, typical broadcast linear television performs extraordinarily well. It's a very high attention medium. I wonder if the same thing is true about some of these metadata issues, that when we finally establish context and give buyers the signals they want, they will actually realise that there's an enormous amount to be said for premium, high quality, brand safe, brand suitable TV inventory. Stephen?
I think we're very practically working on this German initiative that I mentioned earlier with together with ProSieben. So I mean that's a 12 to 24 month project, honestly, and really bringing together those two ad tech stacks. That's going to be a really interesting test case to see, if we can deliver that in the German market, and use it as a bit of an inspiration case study for other markets to say, okay, we can take that approach just with a French flavor or a UK flavor. For me, that would be a really concrete step for us to take as broadcasters. So we already lead by getting together and collaborating where others can't, and then the tech part will just follow as a result of that, I think.
Wonderful. Nicole?
So I would say I'm definitely thinking about standardization of metadata, and I think that's part of what has held back especially the European market, especially around even the emerging streamers, the non-broadcasters, who they are having trouble standardizing what everybody is sending. So we're definitely thinking about that. What I am thinking about a lot right now is helping CTV suppliers tell the performance story. So again, the opportunity to bring more revenue to them through diverse media streams that isn't just the holdcos and the Fortune 500 brands, but these thousands of other buyers who have been grown up on search and social. Their brands are now more recognizable. They've penetrated search and social as much as possible. They need to expand. CTV is a great medium for that, specifically buying it through programmatic because it has that real-time aspect of it. But CTV suppliers and buying platforms need to do more to ensure that these performance buyers who are really savvy in their use of data have that kind of feedback loop that helps them understand the return on ad spend was worth the buy on that supply. So we're thinking about that a lot.
Great topic.
Noted. Yeah, noted. So a couple of years ago, I might have been even more worried about TV trying to mirror what Google has done and build like an end-to-end walled garden, and it would hurt the TV industry tremendously because they wouldn't be able to compete with that, and it's basically not what advertisers are looking for. Right now, we have seen we've partnered with RTL last year. We've seen Roku opening up. We've seen Netflix opening up. So don't think that's going to be an issue anymore. Everyone's leaning into like this open premium internet ecosystem of buying also for TV, which is going to be great for publishers and for advertisers. So I'm not worried about that anymore because we're just seeing it happening at full speed. So my focus is going to be identity, actually, because I do believe that broadcasters or TV publishers or connected TV streamers don't make all of it right now because they have one of the highest authentication rates in the entire internet. Almost everyone is logged in on their platforms, and there's now systems out there, and I'm not just going to call our own, but there's multiple frameworks to build a currency out of that. And with a lot of control, enable advertisers to find their audiences with their data on those platforms without at scale, without risk as much as we do have potentially in the cookie space or have had. So that's going to be the focus.
Wow, I'm really excited about this. Listen, a massive thank you to the four of you. This is meant to be a collaborative, consultative initiative. So if you want to find out more, you can find us on the internet. It's super easy to do. Just reach out. We're going to be engaging with the industry a lot over the course of the next 3-4 months. And we'll be running a summit in London, I think, in the fall to really look at what's come out of the study. So hopefully we'll get everyone involved. But a massive thank you to our friends at Equativ for hosting this great discussion. And a huge thank you to our 4 panelists for toasting with me up here. I feel slightly crisped now, but all the better for it. Thanks,
Bit of
everyone.
wind.
Thank you.
Happy to try to answer that. I think because currency, I mean really like the way to, for example, use an email address or use a phone number to create an identifier out of that is fully encrypted, hashed, sorted, so you can never turn back into an email address and is safe to share across the ecosystem without being stolen by third parties that are not allowed to use it, etc. So it's a very safe way to communicate with each other and to create that link between audiences. And I do think that this is also potentially a solution to merge that panel data where you also might have an identifier then with the impression level data, because ultimately what you always need is some identification to link data sets. And if that is enabling that, then great.
But I think you need a technology that can work with a hierarchy of identities. I don't think there's going to be one silver bullet that's going to rule them all. You need to be able to have a system that can, if there is a household ID, then that has, some level of priority over maybe a user ID versus a user ID that comes with less data. So I think your system has to be able to take all of that into account and make trade-offs and make ad decisions based on that, not just doing it on kind of siloed identity vendor bases.
Oh yeah, agree.
I think from what I've seen in the US marketplace, I think the future for Europe's TV markets may be a multi-currency future. I'm not sure there's going to be a sort of perfect one-to-one read across from traditional JIC-based panel measurement currencies to an impressions-based marketplace with advanced audiences and identity. I think the two will coexist, like Ty was saying, for some time.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I would hope that we don't actually come up with a European broadcaster initiative for a shared ID. I would hope that we will actually embrace some of the stronger initiatives in the market that I think are working across channels, and I think that will be beneficial ultimately in the long term for everybody.
They've been trying to do this for several years in Australia. It's called VOZ streaming or VOZ, the VOZ project. And it's interesting because it seems like a solution for a lot of things. It's an ID that the broadcaster, a shared ID. It's been really complicated and hard to develop the tech on that. And they have seen a lot of buyers kind of say, I'm not going to buy that. Like, I don't, there is that tension of, I don't want to give you like so much more, like that's too much power. That's too much power that you broadcasters have. So I think definitely there will be different IDs that come and go. I think the CTV market needs an identity solution that is the best way to buyers to get that metadata without publishers feeling overexposed. But I think we're going to see a lot of those, pops and drops of, we have this broadcaster initiative and we built it. It took us 3 years, 4 years, and now no one's buying it. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I fully agree with all of that. And I really don't want anyone to misunderstand this initiative as that this is going to be like one solution for everything and all consolidated, or one market, like one just like consolidated market, or even like a walled garden kind of thing. Because I do think the fragmentation that we often talk about in the open internet or in the connected TV market is actually something good. It's not something negative, and we should embrace that, the variety of it. So this is why I'm also, even on the measurement side, we don't need to find for that one currency, that one solution. We don't need to find for that one identity. The marketplace of it all, like to have this variety, those options, is what makes this ecosystem stronger than the walled gardens.
But I think even just the alignment around those principles actually moves us along. Like the reality that if we agree that there's going to be multiple ID partners, that there's going to have to be certain standards about how they operate and how they execute. Where will it be integrated and how will it tie into measurement? I think just agreeing those things, and we move forward a lot.
I think we're moving from a marketplace in which we have single monolithic solutions to one in which we're talking much more about interoperability and about how we make a competitive marketplace work efficiently for both buyers and sellers without dampening innovation and competition. So I hope that answers the question. Any other thoughts? Well, look, we're all going to be here for a little while, so hopefully you'll come and grab us if you have any other questions. But thanks for your time.